Good evening, my dear students. I hope that you are enjoying your time. Today, I'm going to explain to you the lecture that I have made and uploaded in the university website. Additionally, I'm making this video to support your understanding about the lecture. Our concern today is chapter 4, which is considered to be one of the most important chapters in your book because it deals with the lyrics and the elements of the lyrics and how it's work in sound production process. So guys, actually chapter 4 is divided into lectures. This is the first part, then I'll upload the second part for you. So our title for this chapter is voicing and consonants. Then we are going to explain what's the meaning of voicing and what's the meaning of consonant. Actually, I uploaded in PDF file in the university website, and now I am doing and supporting your understanding about chapter 4 by making this video. So first of all, we will start with the definition and what's the meaning of lyrics. In Arabic, we called it al-hanjara. Just because the lyrics is considered to be one of the most important elements in sound production process. That's why we will study it in details and how it's work and what are the elements of the lyrics. We begin this chapter by studying the lyrics. The lyrics has several very important functions in speech. But before we can look at these functions, we must examine its anatomy and physiology. That's how it's constructed and how it's work. The lyrics is in the neck, so the production of the lyrics is in the neck. It has several parts shown in figure 10. Now we are going to show it. This is figure and this is the location of our lyrics. Then we are going to study its elements in detail. Its main structure is made of cartilage. Cartilage it means غضاريف. يعني المكونات الأساسية للحنجرة cartilage اللي هن الغضاريف. Here we have the definition of cartilage is a material that is similar to bone but less hard. Okay? If you press down your nose, the hard part that you can feel is a cartilage. The lyrics structure is made of two large catalysts. These are how and they are attached to the top of the trachea. Trachea means القصبة الهوائية. When we breathe, the air passes through the trachea and the larynx. يعني احنا بنتنفس air is passing through القصبة الهوائية والحنجر. Okay, dear students, now we understand from this slide that the larynx is considered to be one of the most important elements in sound production process, and it contains or it consists of cartilage. Cartilage is a material that is similar to bone. هي نفس التقريب المشابه للعظام but less hard لكن أقل صلابة من العظم. The location of our lyrics is in the neck. الموقع مالتها تكون بالعنق الإنسان. يعني if you put your finger in your neck you can feel the lyrics. Okay, dear students? Now we're gonna if you can look to this shape, which is figure number 10, you can see the lyrics and its element. Now the articulators above the lyrics. Cartilage. The definition of cartilage is the main part of structure of the lyrics, and its material similar to bone but is less hard. As I mentioned in the slide number 2, if you can look here, it's a material similar to bone but it's less hard. This is the main element of the cartilage of the lyrics. Sorry. Okay, dear students. The second element of the lyrics is the vocal folds. الحبال الصوتية. They are two thick flaps of muscles. The vocal folds الحبال الصوتية they are two thick flaps of muscles. When they vibrate, they produce what we call sounds. Okay, so if we want to produce a sound, or the sounds can be a result of the vibration of the vocal folds. When the vocal folds vibrates with each other, vibrate يعني يهتزن من ضمن vocal folds يصير اهتزاز بيناتهم, the result will be sounds. Okay guys, so the first or source or the primary source of our sound is the lyrics and the vocal folds. Now let me repeat the definition of the vocal folds. They are two thick flaps of muscles. When they vibrate with each other, they produce what we call sounds. These are the elements. Look here, number 1 cartilage, number 2 vocal folds, number 3. So these are the elements of our lyrics. The third part, or let us say the third element of the lyrics is arytenoid cartilages, which can be defined as two small cartilages attached to the back of the vocal folds. The movement of arytenoid cartilages causes the movement of the vocal folds. يعني the movement, or let us say the vibration of the vocal folds come before or come because the arytenoid cartilages, which are considered to be the reason behind the movement of the vocal folds. As I mentioned here, the vocal folds can be the sound we produce is the result of the vibration of the vocal folds. But which is the reason behind the movement of the vocal folds, or which are the main source of the movement of the vocal folds is arytenoid cartilages, which can be defined the two small cartilages attached to the back of the vocal folds. The movement of the arytenoid cartilages causes the movement of the vocal folds. So that let us say the reason behind the movement. Let us say the reason behind the movement of the vocal folds is the arytenoid cartilages. Okay, dear students, now let me make a quick review. The lyrics, it is the main elements of the sound production process, which is which is in the neck, sorry, يعني البوزيشن مالتها in the neck, and it has several parts. What are the parts of lyrics? These are the parts of lyrics, cartilages, the vocal folds, and arytenoid cartilages. Okay, dear students, these are three. Let us go on. And number 4, glottis. Let us see what's the meaning of a glottis. A glottis is the space or the gap between the vocal folds. Sound produced in the glottis are called eglottal, such as he. Let us see. In the previous slides here, I mentioned that they are two thick flaps, the vocal folds, of muscles. When they vibrate, يعني هن اثنيناتهم let us say يعني متوازيان. When they vibrate, they produce a sound. Okay, a glottis, the space or the gap between the vocal folds. احنا عندنا الحبال الصوتية الجلوتس هي المسافة, the distance between the vocal folds. vocal folds يعني الحبال الصوتية. الجلوتس هي المسافة اللي بين الحبال الصوتية, نسميها glottis. Is the space or the gap between the vocal folds and the sound produced in the glottis are called the glottal, such as hair. Okay, dear students. Number 5, which is the last, I think, the last part of the lyrics is Adam's apple. Adam's apple. We called it in Arabic لسان المزمار. If you open your mouth, now you can't see it, I think. لسان المزمار, it is the last part of our lyrics. Look here. Adam's apple is the front part of lyrics يعني هو الجزء الأمامي من lyrics. Now, Adam's apple is considered to be the last part of our lyrics. Now, if you open your mouth, you can't feel on see it. Sorry. Adam's apple, the definition, or it can be defined as the front part of our lyrics. It can be felt and touched, particularly in slim people. يعني نقدر نشوفها بالناس اللي somehow تقريبا in slim people. Okay, dear students, these are now in the, let me make a quick review. Now we talked about the lyrics, its position, and its element, and we mentioned that it consists of 5 elements: cartilage, vocal folds, actinide cartilages, glottis, and Adam's apple. These are the most important elements of our lyrics. Now we're gonna to move to this slide, which is entitled for easy recognizable state of the vocal folds. As I mentioned, and I will repeat, the vibration of the vocal folds can result the sound. يعني when we have a vibration of the vocal cord, we have a sound. If we do not have vibration, we do not have sounds. Okay, guys? But the vocal folds can move differently and can move in very different positions. Now we are going to present what are these positions. Look here for easily recognizable state of the vocal folds. Maybe in the exam I am going to ask you what are the states of the vocal cords, or what are the movement of the vocal folds. So sometimes I mention the vocal cords. Now let me show you what are the 4 recognizable states of the vocal folds. First of all, narrow glottis. Let us examine what's the meaning of narrow glottis. As I mentioned before, a glottis is the space between the vocal folds. A glottis is the space هي المسافة between the vocal folds. As I defined it here, is the space between the vocal folds. Here narrow glottis يعني عندما تكون المسافة صغيرة. Sorry, I just somehow speak Arabic. Narrow glottis, as I mentioned here, a glottis is the space. Narrow, it means very, let us say يعني ضيقة. الgap اللي between the vocal folds somehow narrow. Let us see, and what if the narrow glottis, or if the glottis is narrow, what the result? Let us examine this. The situation when the air passes through the glottis. Look here, I'm here reading. The situation when the air passes through the glottis when it's narrowed. Okay, when the air passes through the glottis and it's narrow, we call it narrow glottis. So the first state of vocal folds is narrow glottis. This means that the situation when the air passes through the glottis when it's narrowed, the result will be the sound he, which is voiceless glottal fricatives. What's the meaning of voiceless? As I mentioned before, voiceless, it means there is no vibration of the vocal folds. What is a glottal? A glottal, because as I mentioned here, is the space between the vocal folds. Fricatives, then in chapter 6, inshallah, I'm gonna to explain to you in detail what's the meaning of fricatives. Okay, dear students, now we understand what's the meaning of narrow glottis. Now it is narrow. The second recognizable state is wide. Wide يعني open, يعني مفتوحة. Wide apart. The vocal folds are wide apart from normal breathing. يعني هنا راح تكون عندنا مفتوحات أكثر. And during the pronunciation, خلال التلفظ of voiceless consonant like p, f, s. So if we want to pronounce the letter p, or the letter f, or the letter s, if we want to pronounce these 3 sounds which are considered to be voiceless. As I mentioned here, the meaning of voiceless, it means that there is no vibration of the vocal folds. The gap or the distance or the space between vocal between vocal folds is wide. Okay, guys, look here. If I want to pronounce the letter he, it means that the glottis is narrow, very narrow. If I want to produce the letter p, f, and s, the glottal is wide, and so on. This is the second stage of the vocal folds. The third one, vibrated vocal folds. Here, known in the second stage, they are wide. Wide. مفتوحات ما بيناتهم لقاء. There is no touch between the vocal folds. In the first one, narrow, but also there is no touch. In the third one, no, there is touch, which we called vibrated vocal folds. Let us examine what the result if our vocal folds are vibrated with each other. Let us examine the result. The situation when the internal edges of vocal folds come very close to each other, the air passes through the glottis, usually causes a vibration. Okay, look guys. When does the vibration occur? If the edge of the vocal folds come very close to each other. The air passes through the glottis, usually causes vibration because it's pressed up from the length and pushes the vocal folds to open and close properly. Here, okay, dear students, now we come, I think, to number here we are. We finished the third easily recognizable state of the vocal folds. Now we are going to the state number 4. In exam, as I told you, maybe I'm gonna to ask you what are the states of the vocal folds. Okay, maybe it's be one of the most important question in my exam. So here the state number 4 and the last one, which is considered or which we call the closed vocal fold. Now if we compare it with the previous states, let us compare it with the previous state. Here the first one was narrow, the gap between the vocal folds was narrow. The second one, the gap between the vocal folds were wide, so it was wide. The third one, the third state, the narrow, or the gap between the vocal folds were vibrated. Vibrated, they are, as I mentioned here, the internal edges of the vocal folds come very close, very close. In number 4, in the state number 4, the closed vocal folds, يعني هنا التقن, we have a touch between them. Look here. A closed vocal fold. The vocal folds can be firmly pressed together. يعني اثنيناتهم راح we have touch point here of the vocal folds to prevent the air from passing. When they are suddenly open, يعني firstly they are close to each other and prevent and stop the air from going on. This is the first one. The second point, when they are suddenly open, they produce a voiceless glottal plosive. And in the next lecture, inshallah, I'm going to explain to you what's the meaning of a plosive. Because as I mentioned before, this chapter is divided into parts. So, when they suddenly open, they produce a voiceless glottal plosive. Voiceless, as I mentioned, it means there is no vibration of the vocal folds. A glottal, the gap between them, and the plosive, I'm going to explain to you, inshallah, in the next session. Sound like a gentle cough, which is represented by the symbol. This is the symbol of plosive. And then, as I told you, I'm going to explain what does it mean in the near future, inshallah. So, Here we are going to 4.2. There is the respiration. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to respiration and voicing. First, aggressive pulmonic airstrom. The definition of this term is the speech mechanism or normal way to the flow of air as it moves from the lungs through the vocal folds to the outer space or in the oral or nasal cavity. Okay, students, aggressive pulmonic airstrom is the speech mechanism or the normal way to the flow of air as it moves from the lungs through the vocal folds to the outer space in the oral or nasal cavity. Okay, dear students? The pressure of the air below the vocal folds, the subglottal pressure, can also be varied. Three main differences are found: variation in intensity, the variations in frequency, and the variations in quality. Let me explain what the meaning of variation in intensity and variation in frequency and variations in quality. Look here, first one, the variation. Here it means that the pressure of the air below the vocal folds، يعني الضغط مال الهواء اللي قبل لا يوصل الsound to the vocal folds can be divided into three parts. The first one, the variation in intensity, then in frequency and in quality. Let us examine what each one of them means. Sorry, here let me write it. Computer before slow. Okay. Now we produce a voicing with high intensity. We produce a voicing with high intensity for shouting, for example, and with low intensity for speaking quietly. Look here. Let us say the amount of pressure of air below the vocal folds may be different when we shouting يعني تحكي بصوت عالي, and when we are speaking quietly. Look here, if we shout or loudly, and if we are shouting, the variation in intensity يعني let us say يعني the meaning of its كثافة. So كمية الهواء اللي موجود بالvocal folds if we are shouting is high and is higher than the amount of pressure of the vocal folds in speaking quietly. So look here, the variation will be in intensity. Look here, يعني when we are shouting, the pressure of the air will be higher than when we are speaking quietly. This is the idea. Okay, guys? Look here. This is for the first one. The second one, the variations in frequency. If the vocal folds vibrate rapidly, the voicing as at high frequency. If there are fewer vibrations per second, the frequency is lower. Look here. This is the difference on the variation. The variation in frequency. If the vocal folds vibrate rapidly, the voicing is at high frequency. If there are fewer vibrations per second, the frequency is lower. This is the second state of the pressure of the air below the vocal folds. Maybe in the exam, I'm going to ask you, we have three types or three amounts of pressure, or we can classify the pressure of the air below the vocal folds in three types. What are they? You will answer me the variation in intensity, the variation in frequency, and the third one, the variation in quality. What's the meaning of the variation in inequality? We can produce different sound. We can produce different sounding voice qualities, such as those we made in call harsh, breathy, or creaky. Okay, dear students, my dear students, ladies and gentlemen, these are the three states or three kinds of the air. Why you are keep appearing? See, these are three types of the air pressure below the vocal folds. Sometimes can be the variation in quality, sometimes can be the variation in frequency, and other time the variations may be in the intensity. And as I told you, if the variation in intensity, when we are shouting, maybe it's higher than when we are speaking quietly. In frequency, when they are vibrate rapidly, the voicing at high frequency. If they are fewer vibrations, the frequency is lower, and the variations in quality, we can produce different sound voicing qualities, such as those we may call harsh, breathy, and creaky. Dear students, this is the first part of chapter 4, which concerning and its title, voicing and consonant. This is the first part. We discussed in this part the lyrics, its elements, its movement, and then we come to the expression and the amount of the pressure, amount of the air pressure below the vocal folds. Inshallah, in the next new session, I'm gonna to tell you the second part, which we call plosive, and what's the meaning of plosive, and which are sound is considered to be plosive and how it's work. Inshallah, in the near session. And from now, I'm gonna to support your understanding. Each lecture I posted in the university website, I'm gonna to make a video to explain it here in this way. Finally, I'm so happy to introduce a lecture in this way, and I wish that you are enjoying it, and see you soon inshallah after Eid al-Fitr al-Mubarak. Thank you very much, and have a nice day. Goodbye.